Retail sales on Black Friday this year were reported at $11.8 billion, up 9.1% from 2024. The media is enthusiastic, Wall Street is delighted, and many people see this as a sign that the American consumer dream is reviving. But don't celebrate too soon, because these increases don't come from superior purchasing power, but from prices hitting the ceiling due to inflation. And if you want to know where the gap between the glitzy numbers and harsh reality is most keenly felt, look at Las Vegas. The city, built on the strength of consumption, tourism, and nights of extravagant spending, is now witnessing an alarmingly quiet Black Friday. Shopping malls are empty, traffic is down sharply, and many stores are forced to close early because there aren't enough customers to stay open. While the entire country is reassuring itself with sales growth charts, Las Vegas is exposing the dark side of the picture. People are tightening their belts, tourist numbers are declining, and iconic corporations down to small businesses are on the brink of collapse. In today's video, we'll analyze why paper sales growth hides a declining reality, and why Las Vegas is becoming the clearest indicator of a fading American economy. Thanksgiving has just ended, Black Friday has just wrapped up, and Christmas is just around the corner. This should be the busiest time of year, when shopping malls are so bustling that it's hard to find a parking spot. But by the end of 2025, a completely different scene unfolded. In many places, malls that were once symbols of American consumerism had become eerily deserted and desolate, as if the holiday season had completely lost its appeal. For Americans, Las Vegas was once the place of the all-in spirit, not just in the casinos, but also in their wallets. This is the city where people are willing to spend their entire month's salary for a few nights of partying, fancy meals, and endless shopping. There was a time when Vegas welcomed nearly 42 million visitors each year, and it made a miraculous recovery after the pandemic. The Fashion Show Mall welcomes thousands of visitors daily, while Prim Outlet, one of the 5 largest outlets in the United States, is so bustling that the food court is always packed from morning to night. That was a time when people believed that the American dream of consumerism was at its peak. But as we enter 2025, something is gradually changing. Prim Outlet, once so crowded you had to push your way through, now has only one store open. The long corridors that once echoed with the footsteps of tourists are now silent like a ghost town where the lights are still on, but life has departed. Fashion Show Mall, located right on the Strip, across from luxurious hotels like Wynn and Venetian, also didn't escape this fate. Despite having over 250 stores, the mall is now empty even at 11 a.m., which is usually the busiest time. The management was forced to change the opening hours from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. to reduce losses because there were simply no customers in the morning. The Starbucks inside the mall, which used to always have a long line of people waiting, has closed, leaving a void that won't be easy to fill. Even smaller malls around Vegas are in a similar state. The light is still on, the door is still open, the staff are still behind the counter. But the customers have almost disappeared. Vegas is still fully operational physically. The neon signs are still flashing. The casino floors are open 24/7. But the city's true lifeblood, the flow of people and money, is weakening day by day. What lies behind that emptiness is not just a matter of tourism or changing consumer habits. It reflects a deeper shift in the American psyche. Value, something that was once obscure during periods of strong growth, has now become a top priority. The cost of living is rising, incomes are stagnant, and federal support for low-income groups has been disrupted. Many families have to cut back on spending and hunt for deals on essential items like food, soap, and basic clothing. In that context, Vegas, the city of impulsive spending, luxurious dining, and unclear fees, became the first destination to be crossed off the list. Faced with that alarming emptiness, a question arises: can the biggest sale event of the year save the situation? In reality, glimmers of hope have gradually emerged this year during Black Friday, as Nevada media reported scenes of crowds rushing to shopping centers and lining up around outlets like treasure hunters. Stores like American Eagle Outfitters or Tory Burch still have long lines of people, a glimmer of light amidst the red-stained numbers on the statistical board. At first glance, it's easy to believe that the shopping fever has returned, that those crowds will revive Vegas's consumer dream. But if you put those short lines of people next to shopping malls that are empty all year round, is that really a sign of revival? Or is it just a moment of illumination in a reality that is gradually darkening? The answer will be revealed in the next section of the video. For many older Americans, Black Friday was once part of the collective memory, an unofficial holiday where consumerism reached its peak. The lines of people waiting since 3 a.m., the doors opening like a starting gun for a race, the scramble for cheap TVs. All of this created a unique spirit of America during its prosperous era. However, Black Friday 2025 paints a completely different picture. In many states, from Nevada to New Jersey, the supermarkets that were once the focal point of November are now unbelievably empty. Walmart, once bustling with TV shoppers, had only a few lonely cars in the parking lot at 5:45 a.m. Best Buy, the traditional arena for electronics deals, was so empty that the sound of employees' footsteps echoed clearly, a sight that could only be imagined on a Tuesday in the middle of the week, not on Black Friday. Those who came early to hunt for sales were even more disappointed. The shelves of TVs, air fryers, and electronic devices are still full as usual. There was no jostling, no sound of the crowd pushing, no excitement. When looking at the price, many people can only sigh. The 50% off sale actually only brings the price back to the level it was 2 weeks ago. Even places considered the busiest this year haven't escaped the cycle of disappointment. Reporters at the malls say people are still coming, still walking around. But when they look at the price list, many people turn away immediately. Reduced from 50 to 30%. Then what's there to fight over? Meanwhile, the press still ran bright headlines. Crowds flocked to the shopping mall to hunt for deals. There was a heavy feeling, evident in every sentence. This year's doorbusters aren't doorbusters anymore. It started last week. The month-long sales model has killed the spirit of Black Friday. What once made it special? Behind those gaps and sighs lies an economy that is splitting in two. High-income earners are still spending thanks to the stock market and rising house prices. But most Americans, those living paycheck to paycheck, went into Black Friday this year not to spend money, but to hope to save something in a context where everything is becoming more expensive. Many people are blunt. We don't want to buy a TV. We need deodorant, chicken, soap. Things that should have gone down haven't. Black Friday 2025 is no longer a consumer holiday. It became a test, exposing economic anxieties, financial fatigue, and a weakening of confidence in business. And perhaps, for the first time in decades, Americans are forced to ask themselves, if even Black Friday is losing its meaning, where is the consumer culture that has sustained this entire country headed? If the silence in supermarkets suggests Black Friday 2025 is losing its soul, the scene outside Target reveals another slice of that decline. A slice that is both humorous and bitter to the point of disbelief. In numerous widely shared videos, hundreds of Americans are seen huddled together in the biting cold, setting up tents, wrapping themselves in blankets, and lining up from midnight just to wait for a free swag bag. No one knew what was inside, but everyone believed their efforts would be rewarded. That Target, a major brand, wouldn't let customers leave feeling cheap. But when the bag was opened, mostly just a few odds and ends were found. A deck of Uno cards, drink pouches, lip gloss, and a few small items that looked like they were gathered from a clearance rack. The silence lasted for several seconds right in the video, a frustrating kind of silence, before turning into a wave of strong criticism. Some people stood outside in the cold for 6 hours, enduring the biting chill, only to end up holding a bag worth a few dollars. Frustration was immediate. Some requested to speak with the manager, even demanding to contact corporate because they didn't receive the bag as expected. For a moment, the fragility of American consumer trust was revealed, a trust that few would have previously that could be broken by a small bag. The irony is that a few people still won the grand prize, a slushy machine or a small electronic device, but it was precisely that disparity that made the general disappointment even deeper. Some people say, some people get nice gifts, while I stood for 6 hours to get Uno. That very moment transformed Target from a retailer into the center of online mockery. No one is truly angry about a cheap gift. It's because of the vast gap between expectations and reality. Swag bags were originally just a byproduct of Black Friday, but this year they've gone beyond shopping. It became a symbol of a larger collapse, the disconnect between businesses and consumers, the gap between what customers think they deserve and what businesses consider enough. In a time when Americans are tightening their belts, their expectations are no longer small gifts, but rather fair treatment, respect, and being recognized as human beings, not just numbers in a sales report. And it was at Target, amidst a freezing morning and bags full of lip gloss, that a truth became clearer. Black Friday doesn't collapse in silence. It collapsed with a collective sense of disappointment. If the swag bag story exposed the gap between expectations and reality, what happened next showed the problem wasn't just with Target. It lies within human nature itself, in a psychological mechanism that has been operating silently within the American consumer landscape for decades. A mechanism that we will probably only truly see clearly by 2025. The most notable point about this year's Black Friday is that Americans are no longer drawn to big sale signs. What brought them out of their homes, standing in the freezing cold for hours, was something much simpler: the word free. The irony here is that most of the people in line don't know what they're waiting for. They don't know what's in the bag. They don't know if there's anything valuable. But they still stood, and stood for a very long time. Because once people have invested effort, time, and emotions, they become more difficult to withdraw than ever. The phenomenon of, I'm already standing here, so I must have something, appears in countless recordings. It's not greed. It's the instinct to retain meaning in what you've put in. The waiting turned into an investment, and because they had invested, they felt they deserved a reward, even though no one had promised them anything from the start. Black Friday is therefore more like a ritual than a shopping event. Many people come not to buy what they need, but to feel like they are participating in a special moment, a tradition they once enjoyed when America was more prosperous. That feeling of belonging to a large group, sharing the same goal, made them stop, wait, and hope, even if all that was inside the bag might have been a few dollar set of Uno cards. Many customers argue that waiting a long time means they have a right to receive. They don't demand an expensive item. They just want their efforts to be respected. But this is where human psychology and the retail model collide. Businesses see the swag bag as a small gift, while consumers see it as a measure of whether they are valued. And when that expectation isn't met, the disappointment becomes much deeper than the true value of the gift. That's why the swag bag became a focal point of criticism, not because of cheap lip gloss, not because of drink pouches, but because consumers realized they'd been led by their own emotions and left behind. This psychological trap didn't appear this year. It's the product of decades when the retail system encouraged excitement, anticipation, and a sense of victory with each sale. But in 2025, as wallets thin and trust weakens, that trap becomes more apparent than ever. And it was in that moment, as countless people opened the same bag, only to be disappointed simultaneously, that Americans seemed to witness the collapse of an entire mechanism that had driven them from one Black Friday season to the next. It's not just a bag. It's not just a few items, but rather a reminder that sometimes what disappoints us most isn't what we receive, but what we once that we would have. After years of being swept up in massive sales campaigns, blazing red discount signs, promises of up to 70% off, and cleverly constructed FOMO events, 2025 is witnessing a quiet but profound shift. American consumers are pulling out of the game, not through protests, not through loud slogans, but through a form of resistance so simple it's heartbreaking. They stopped buying. I bought nothing at all. That seemingly fleeting remark reappeared repeatedly in a great many responses. It wasn't just a spur-of-the-moment decision. It's the result of years of frustration, of being tricked multiple times by discount figures that are essentially disguised math, raising prices beforehand, slightly lowering them afterward, and then calling it a promotion. Older Americans who have experienced economic ups and downs see this most clearly. They prioritize food, medicine, and essential supplies. They steer clear of items labeled must-have that they know they can completely miss. Many people say they bought air fryers, electric pots, or small appliances for much cheaper prices in the weeks leading up to Black Friday, a clear indication that America's biggest shopping event has lost its true function. "That's no longer a place to find good deals," a customer said bluntly. That awareness, like a gentle but deep wave, caused many people to begin looking at the lines of people camping outside supermarkets with different eyes. No one forced them to stand outside in the cold to receive a bag of Uno, one commenter said. It's not mockery, but a reminder that they, and all of us, once let ourselves get caught up in a game designed to trigger emotions more than actual needs. American consumers are sending a very clear message. They are no longer accepting old psychological tactics, no longer letting free or 50% off control their behavior, and no longer following the scripts that retail corporations have used repeatedly for years. And in 2025, a year when everything from necessities to basic services increased in price, this silence became the most powerful form of protest, an affirmation that they wanted to be respected rather than lured with small gifts. That rebellion, though gentle, is reshaping the entire Black Friday. It doesn't just reduce sales, it changes the structure of a holiday that has existed for over half a century. It shows that sometimes true power doesn't lie in the shouting and shoving to buy a cheap TV, but in the calm decision not to step foot in the store anymore. While the silence of Black Friday reflects a setback in consumer sentiment, what Americans are saying about their daily lives reveals a deeper cause. They are running out of energy. The phrase, "everything is too expensive," appears frequently. From food and medicine to basic services, anything that was once considered normal spending is now a difficult calculation for many households. Not a few people are blunt. "I'm not buying anything because I'm out of money." A short, almost involuntary sentence, but filled with the weight of a life squeezed from many directions. It's not just about avoiding spending, it's about prioritizing survival, looking at every bill and asking what's truly necessary to get through the next month. In that context, Black Friday completely loses its meaning. Many people say that the discounted items are not what they need. TVs, air fryers, speakers, electronic devices, symbols of comfort, gifts, and experiences are now merely decorative elements in marketing campaigns. What they're concerned about is eggs, milk, meat, soap, and deodorant, items that, according to many, should have gone down but haven't at all. In Las Vegas, where the economy is almost entirely dependent on consumption and tourism, this impact is even more pronounced. The mall is still open, the staff are still behind the counters, the lights are still on, but the actual transaction volume is almost zero. The shopping spirit disappeared. bringing with it the feeling that the city was operating in a state of standby, running but not progressing, bright but not alive. That worry, heavy in every shopping basket, is the reason Black Friday 2025 cannot return to what it was before. Because the problem isn't that the discounts aren't deep enough, but that people's ability to pay is no longer what it used to be. An economy where the shopping basket gradually lightens, not because of smart saving, but because there are no other options, is a clear sign of difficult times. Times that Americans are entering with caution, fatigue, and a pervasive anxiety in every smallest decision. As American shopping baskets become lighter, the impact is not only felt in supermarkets, but also hits places that thrive on extravagance, and Las Vegas is where this impact is felt most acutely. The emptiness of Fashion Show Mall and the numerous large and small outlets is no longer just a story of a few shopping centres, but has become a mirror reflecting the city-wide reality. Visitor numbers are down, spending is down, and confidence has also declined. On the Strip, many large casinos that were once packed with people are now eerily quiet. The slot machines that once lit up and echoed with the joyful shouts of tourists are now constantly empty. Meanwhile, paradoxically, the casino locals, which cater to local residents, were busier than usual. People are seeking out places with fewer surcharges and less hassle, where they can still enjoy a buffet meal or simply feel like they are spending more wisely. The Strip, once a holy ground for spending, has become an area that even Las Vegans avoid. Many loyal tourists are also starting to turn away. Some say they won't return to Vegas because costs are rising too quickly, from resort fees to parking, while the quality of service is noticeably declining. It's not worth the money like it used to be. That seemingly ordinary comment is becoming the biggest threat to a city that thrives on the feeling of being worth experiencing. The Vegas lights still shine as brightly as the promise that never fades. But stepping into empty shopping malls, one can easily feel that the city is losing the energy that once made it an irreplaceable destination. A city built on prosperity, on the rhythm of impulsive shopping and spending, now faces a generation of cautious, reserved tourists who demand real value. Many experiences once considered must-tries, a big show, a fancy buffet, a day of shopping on the Strip, are no longer on many people's lists. They say the feeling of worthiness has disappeared, eroded by surcharges, skyrocketing menu prices, and a decline in service quality. A city can be illuminated by electricity, but it can only be brought to life by people. And if people no longer feel like they belong there, will the neon lights be enough to keep Vegas standing strong against a rapidly changing era? Las Vegas has never been an ordinary city. It is built on illusion, on lights, on the desire to escape everyday life. But in 2025, perhaps for the first time in decades, we are seeing a Las Vegas that can no longer hide the truth behind that layer of lights. Empty shopping malls, a soulless Black Friday, swag bags that made the whole country bitterly laugh, and shopping carts that are getting lighter as the cost of living rises. All of this is coming together to tell a bigger story. The American consumer dream is entering a period of decline. Vegas may still be bright, but that light is no longer fueled by the prosperity it once was. It shines like a habit, rather than a sign of a healthy city. And as older Americans, who once witnessed the peak of consumerism, begin to doubt, begin to cut back, begin to wake up, the biggest question is no longer, when will Vegas recover? But rather, is Vegas entering a phase it has never envisioned? If Black Friday, the symbol of American consumer power, can't hold its appeal, what can save consumer-dependent cities like Las Vegas? When people have to choose between necessities and experiences, will Vegas's sell illusions for cash model still be viable in the future? And more importantly, are we witnessing not just the decline of a city, but a shift in how Americans view value, worth and trust. If you've ever seen empty malls where you live, if you've noticed changes in your family's spending habits, or if you have memories of a more vibrant Las Vegas, please share your thoughts below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to help the channel continue to spread insightful and honest analyses of the United States, which is changing every day. Your support is the motivation that helps us maintain independent, objective, and kind content. The content in this video is based on real-world observations, excerpts from reputable news sources, and public feedback from residents. All analyses are intended to provide a multifaceted perspective and are not intended to attack any organization, business, or individual. The views presented are for reference and are based on inference from information available at the time of preparation.